Hello everyone. Today I'll be discussing how the Chicano's language and culture affects them in education and mental health. This is a subject that is important to me as I am a first generation Mexican American college student that has gone through the experience of adapting to a new language and culture in my early years of education. For this video, I've done extensive research on the Chicano youth regarding the unfortunate negative effects caused by a difference in language and culture that are a reoccurring problem amongst the Chicano community and the ways in which these experiences result in academic faults. To start, migration to the United States has always been a common solution to the struggle that Mexican individuals and families face in their home country. These newfound opportunities for a stable future, along with the Constitution's 14th Amendment, which grants citizenship to people born in the United States, encourage migrant parents to have children in the United States. Enter the Chicanos, people born from Mexican parents on American soil, and just like everyone else, a Chicano child's culture, traditions, and language is passed down from their native born Mexican parents. The difference between them and a quote unquote ideal Caucasian American family comes from the duality of being raised by a culture that speaks a language not understood by the majority of people outside of the bicultural child's circle. This commonly results in confusion and shame within the Chicano self image. This is one of the many issues that Chicanos face when growing up in two very divided cultures with two very divided languages. How differences in language and culture shape academic faults. A Chicano boy growing up in a predominantly Mexican household only speaking Spanish would have to depend on outside sources like school to learn English. However, because of his differences in language, appearance, and culture, the Chicanito might dissociate himself from the rest of his classmates due to him feeling foreign and out of place. Through the sheer feeling of exclusion alone, a child might be less inclined to pay attention in school because of the inner doubt that tells them they don't belong there. In one of my personal favorite essays about biculturalism titled Bilingualism and Biculturalism Assets for Chicanos, written by Manuel H. Guerra, Guerra explains this concept of exclusion well by stating, quote, "The Mexican American child with many such speech difficulties frequently reveals emotional, psychological, or psychoaesthetic conflicts which are expressed in his language. Language is not the primary source of this conflict, but largely an outward manifestation of inward maladjustments. The emotional fabric of the Mexican American child is often overextended. The child is disturbed, confused, and disoriented as a result of being pulled between two worlds, neither of which gives him a sense of security necessary for learning experiences nor a feeling of belonging." End quote. The effect that the dichotomy of the two worlds has on the mental health of a young Mexican American child is detrimental to their well being and sense of security in learning environments. This also discourages their motivation to keep expanding their educational prowess. They're constantly being pushed in school and at home to act like one culture more than the other, a dilemma that can feel like it diminishes their connection to both communities. As I mentioned before, I am a first generation Mexican American college student and I have personally experienced exclusion and harsh criticism in learning environments from my peers and teachers alike because of my inability to communicate with others and understand class material. The things that my teachers would tell me, along with my lack of comprehension skills when it came to the English language, led me to believe that I was, in a way, inferior to those around me and incapable of pursuing a stable academic path. This internalized response is common within many young Chicanos and can potentially lead them to abandon the pursuit of higher education because of the previous discouragement they faced in learning spaces. Through 2012 to 2022, Hispanic teenagers were the second most likely to drop out of high school each year, with an average dropout rate of 9.39% spanning 10 years, and this comes from the National Center of Education Statistics. When young, impressionable children see and understand that they are different from the rest of their peers in a space where they should feel comfortable learning in, they tend to build a sense of inferiority that discourages them from even trying in school, therefore hindering their ability to improve on their linguistic ability and articulation. Spanglish, code switching, and discouragement. Have you ever heard two Chicanos speaking to each other in casual conversation? If you have, you might have heard them sneaking in Spanish words throughout their sentences or substituting English pronunciation for Spanish phonetics. Spanglish is a form of communication deriving from communities that speak both English and Spanish and is common within the Chicano community. For many Chicanos, shifting between languages and even using both simultaneously is a way to communicate identity, heritage, and bonds. However, in the broader United States, this form of bilingual expression is often stigmatized and discouraged, as well as often being treated as quote unquote incorrect or broken. Because of this, Chicanos who use Spanglish may feel pressure to abandon their natural speech patterns in academic, professional, or public settings, reinforcing a misunderstanding that bilingualism must fit strict boundaries instead of being honored as a rich part of their identity. Conclusion: Chicano culture and the Spanish language is important to understand in modern day America due to the ever growing population of Mexican Americans in the United States. These issues that we face can detrimentally affect our mental health and subsequently change our outlook on education. It makes it difficult for us to feel accepted in a world that makes it hard for us to identify with two very different cultures that have different languages, practices, and virtues. As a Chicano child goes through his early years facing challenges and situations that do him more harm than good to his mental well being, he strives to become something greater in order to honor those hard workers before him. Despite the oppression, trials, and exclusion that he faces from a social system that was constructed against him, his identity, heritage, language, and culture will not prevent him from prospering. Thank you for watching.